recording. This is podcast from WSGW Radio in Saginaw, Michigan. A number of things to talk about today. I'm going to talk about safety in group cooking and quite a few other little tidbits that we've picked up along the way. And Ann, you've got a couple of notes for us.
Yeah, people may have noticed if you like avocados that the price is way up. Various reasons for that, but there's a trend out there because they're so expensive of a mock avocado substitute guacamole being used. So I have that.
A fake guacamole?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, they use something. They substitute the avocado for something else.
Ugh.
Also, I have some hacks for tackling summer produce. You know, now's the time of year when a lot of our favorite things are in the produce markets and in the grocery stores, things we don't get all year round. So I have some tips on how to, use those more efficiently, how to, some hacks about that.
All right.
And some bars.
And so I want to start with cooking for groups. This is something we published quite a long time ago in one of our Listen to the Missus brochures that we put out every year. And this is cooking for groups. And some people don't necessarily know how to safely prepare and store large quantities of food for large groups. So we have some helpful guidelines to follow. First of all, let's talk about your hands and surfaces. Clean them often. Separate your foods. Don't cross-contaminate. Now, these sound familiar to you because this is actually very basic food safety. Cook everything to proper temperatures. Refrigerate promptly. Make sure you have the right equipment, including cutting boards, utensils, food thermometers, cookware, shallow containers for storage, soap, and paper towels. Don't overfill the refrigerator. Cool air needs to circulate to keep food safe. Store raw meats by their cooking temperature. Divide food and place it in shallow containers. Slice your meats and layer in containers in portions for serving. Once the food is cooked or reheated, it should be held hot at or above 135 degrees and chilled food at 41 or below. Ice products as the same level as the food product in the container. Now, how about all those leftovers when you have a big group? According to the Department of Agriculture, you should eat refrigerated leftovers within 4 days to reduce the risk of food poisoning. If you don't anticipate being able to eat the leftovers within this period of time, you should freeze them immediately. And before eating leftovers, you should reheat them thoroughly. Reheat leftover sauces, soups, and gravies to boiling. Slow cookers and chafing dishes are not recommended for reheating because they don't get up to the right temperature. To safely reheat cooked food in a microwave oven, cover the food with a lid or a microwave-safe plastic wrap to hold in moisture and provide safe, even heating. Turn back the corner for steam to vent. And after reheating foods in the microwave oven, allow standing time. Then use a clean food thermometer to check that the food has reached 165 degrees. And lastly, and I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many times here at the radio station we broadcast from, I've seen this not done. Clean the refrigerator. Always clean up any spills as soon as they happen. Before you do your weekly shopping, check your refrigerator for any science projects such as moldy food. Discard any outdated food or condiments. Wipe down the shelves while the refrigerator is low on food. So there's some hints just to keep it safe this summer when maybe you're feeding groups and you've got a lot of food laying around and left over. Some hints on how to take care of it. So I am just so curious about these fake guacamoles that you talk about and avocados.
Well, avocado prices are thought to be up as much as 129% right now. And that's because of a bad growing season, number one. The weather has been favorable. Number two, some of the geopolitical stuff going on, tariffs on Mexican imports. And so supermarkets and restaurants and customers are feeling the pinch. So this restaurant, they say a few restaurants, and they know about some in California that are doing this, Mexican restaurants. You know, guacamole's a big
It's a
thing on their
staple.
menu. Yeah.
Staple.
So they're trying to figure out ways to afford it. So what they've done is they've come up with a substitute that uses a couple of different things: squashes, Mexican zucchini,
Oh, no kidding.
and something called calabacitas, little pumpkins.
All right, so I'm curious. If you did that
Mm-hmm.
and you made a guacamole from squash, for example, would you then add some food coloring to it so it looks green?
I don't know. I don't have the recipe here. I would imagine they try to make it as close
I
to
would
the
think
original
so,
as possible,
yeah.
so they probably would do something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, a few years ago, and I remember this Hungry Girl had this recipe, and it was a recipe using peas to mimic guacamole.
Oh, you'd have
somehow.
the color.
Yeah. So,
And you mash them up, you'd have the texture. But you'd have to add the.
but just be on the lookout for that, because I don't know. It's I haven't bought any avocados lately because they're so expensive,
Well,
and
yeah.
I was a frequent avocado buyer. I love it. It's really good for you. I use
a
it a
healthy
lot,
fat.
and it's healthy. I love avocado toast, but lately, not so much.
Nope, they're feeling the pinch. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
And then the other thing on a produce note, continuing on, this summer time is the time when we get a lot of the fruits and vegetables that we don't get all year round. And everybody loves to go to the produce markets and such and get all this stuff. Well, sometimes it can be tricky to prepare it, to prep it for eating and whatnot. So I have a few tips on that, how to do it easily. One suggestion is for strawberries. Did you know you can hull strawberries with a straw?
Hold them with a straw.
Instead of just slicing and paring with a knife, you just take a straw and poke it vertically through the center of the strawberry from the bottom up with
You
a drinking
pop the
straw.
top off first?
And
I
I
imagine,
guess
no.
it just you push it right out.
Really?
So I don't know. I haven't tried it, but just a suggestion. It might work.
You're doing it from the bottom to the top?
Yeah.
So you
So
go in
you're
at the
pushing-
pointed end.
Yeah.
That would push it out.
Yeah, and you're pushing it
I
out.
can see that
Yeah.
happening, yeah.
That's one. Another one is to pit cherries using a paper clip.
I
I actually bought a cherry pitter that does like 6 at a time, but it's like kind of
Really?
tedious still. But yeah, what you do is you use a paper clip to quickly remove the pit. It doesn't say exactly how. I guess you just stick it inside and push it out somehow, or dig it out. I don't know. Here's one that I have tried: corn. Getting the kernels off corn, if you want to get the kernels off for whatever reason. Put the corn cob on top of a bundt pan, in the pointed part in the middle of a bundt pan
sure.
or a stew pan.
Yeah.
Stand the corn cob up on that and then take your knife and slice it down, and the kernels all go down into the pan.
Into the pan. That's clever. I was waiting for you to say push it through the hole, but that wouldn't work very well.
I've tried that and it works.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. But that's a good
good
one.
Good.
Here's another one I've heard about and not tried, though. It's slicing cherry tomatoes on a lid. What you do is you take your cherry tomatoes between 2 plastic lids, like, from a Cool Whip or yogurt container or whatever, and run your knife through them at the same time as they're squeezed in between those 2 plastic pieces.
Yeah.
So
Very good.
that's one. Squeezing lemons. They suggest that you can do this. It can be messy with your hands and tedious. You can use kitchen tongs for that. Take a pair of kitchen tongs and squeeze your lemon with it.
Yeah, you could. Let's face it, squeezing a lemon with your hand is not that bad.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Cut it in half and squeeze it.
Another one is...
I like to squeeze it between my fingers, too, so I catch the pits.
Right. Here's one for keeping berries fresh. I've tried this also, and it works well. When you get your berries home, rinse them in a 3-to-1 water to white vinegar solution.
Yeah.
And that gets all the pesticides or
Yeah.
whatever that might be on there off. And
Good idea.
it helps preserve them. Apparently, it helps prolong their freshness. So after you've rinsed them off, just store them in the fridge in a
All right. Anne's got a
container.
couple of recipes we'll get to in a minute here, but I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about. One of them I found on a site called food.news, and just the headline stopped me because, like many Americans, I'm a type 2 diabetic. And I always thought this would not be a good thing to eat. And now they're telling me, eat more eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, a lot of us, we look at eggs and we go, oh, well, the egg yolk, it's got high cholesterol content, and you'd think that it would raise your blood cholesterol levels and you should avoid it. Well, apparently, it's not the case. The American Diabetic Association actually recommends that people with diabetes add eggs to their diet. The cholesterol in eggs may even be good for their health. A large egg a day may keep diabetes away. How about that? And it discusses in this article how eggs fit into a diabetic person's diet. Apparently, eggs have a very low glycemic index score, meaning that consuming them has little effect on blood sugar levels. And on top of that, eggs are an excellent source of protein, about 7 grams of protein, and it's filling despite being low in carbohydrates. One egg contains less than a gram of carbs. The eggs have good things for diabetics, and when they say 1 in 3 of us has type 2 diabetes, that's a large number in this country. One other little topic to look at in terms of healthy foods for you: blueberries. Blueberries, they say adding blueberries to your diet will maintain healthy blood pressure levels.
Hmm.
And the researchers use metabolomic and nutrigenomic techniques and found that the phytochemicals which give blueberries their distinctive color could also help in lowering blood pressure. They're sweet, they're nutrient rich, they're superfoods, they're low in calories, and can help your blood pressure levels. This was published in the Journals of Gerontology, Series A, and conducted by researchers at King's College in London. So eat eggs if you have type 2 diabetes. If you want your blood pressure to be in control, eat blueberries.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with either of those.
No.
You have a couple of recipes for us to end up.
Yeah, we like to share a couple recipes from our Listen to the Mrs. Files that we've been collecting over the many, many, many years. And a couple of bar recipes. Bars, are great for having around just for desserts or to take with you to potlucks and such like that. And both of these I've made. These recipes I've made when we were doing our segments for TV a while back. I made them both. So the first one is an apple cheesecake bar. And, I'm a cheesecake lover. I talk about it all the time. This one I really enjoyed. They were really good. So this calls for 2 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of quick cooking oats, 1/4 cup of packed golden brown sugar, a cup of unsalt and buttered softened, 12 ounces of white chocolate chips, 8 ounces of cream cheese softened, 14 ounces of sweetened condensed milk, a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 cups of yellow delicious apples peeled and sliced, 12 ounces of apple preserves. And I couldn't find apple when I was making this. I used apricot. It worked fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Okay, so in a large bowl, you combine the flour, oats, and sugar. Cut in the butter till crumbly. That's your crust. And then you add in the chocolate chips, right? Then you're going to mix 2 cups. You're going to reserve 2 cups of this mixture that you just made for the topping, all right? So it's a crust and a topping. So you're going to press the rest of it into a 9 by 13 inch pan. Then you're making the filling. You beat the cream cheese till creamy, add the milk, the lemon juice, and vanilla. This gets poured over the crust. And then you're going to combine the apples, the preserves, and the cornstarch in a medium bowl. You spoon that mixture over the cheese, then sprinkle the reserved crust mixture over the top. You bake these for 35 to 40 minutes at 350 till it's hot, till it's set in the center. And you cool them off, cover and refrigerate, and cut into bars, and they are really delicious.
Mm-hmm.
This one was a really popular recipe on a radio show. Got lots of calls and requests for it. Can't leave alone bars. Made this for TV also.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some variations you can do on this. It calls for either a yellow, a chocolate, or a caramel cake mix. You can use either one. 2 eggs, 1/3 of a cup of oil, 1/4 cup of butter, 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips, 1/4 cup of peanut butter chips, and a can of sweetened condensed milk. Okay? You take your cake mix, your eggs and oil, and mix that all together. Put half of that into a 9 by 13, a greased 9 by 13 inch pan. It's like a pie crust consistency, so you know. And then you combine the rest of the ingredients and melt together and spread that over the crust. You add the nuts if desired. And then you put the rest of that cake mixture on top. then bake it, 350, 25 to 30 minutes. Cut it into bars. Quick and easy, and everybody loves it.
All right.
Can't leave
Sounds
alone
good.
bars.
If you have some ideas, things you'd like us to talk about on our podcast, you can contact us by email. My email is artlewis, that's one word, ARTLEWIS, at WSGW.com.
And mine is Ann at WSGW.com. We also have a Facebook page. Just look for Listen to the Missus. And we have our own webpage, which is attached to the WSGW.com webpage. Go there and find the Listen to the Missus tab and go to our page.
And we'll talk to you again very soon in the near future on our Listen to the Missus podcast.